another book talk with me. Hello, awesome. It's been a while since I've updated my channel, so I figure, you guys should hear about some awesome books that I've been reading. The book I've been reading is Divergent Collection by Veronica Roth. And it's the title, One Choice Will Free Him. I've had this book for a while, and it's honestly, I wanted to understand why she killed Tris. And why Four lived. I mean, he wasn't really much of a character in the last book. I think he had a few lines and stuff, and he talked a little bit more, and he expressed his opinion, and sure, he did a lot of dumb things, as Four does, and then Tris gets him out of trouble. That's what happened. So I'm like, why did she just not kill off Four? I don't think many people would have missed him, and frankly, nobody really knew him. So I think that's why she kind of published the Divergent Collection 4. That's, I think, part of the reason, because she was getting probably a lot of questions like, why did you kill Tris, and why is Four still here? He wasn't really that prevalent or relevant. So basically, in this book, it talks about, it has a couple of chapters, actually. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the chapters. Okay, the contents, as an introduction, and all that. The chapters go like this: the transfer, the initiate, the son, the traitor, and then a couple of the bonus exclusive scenes from Divergent, Four's perspective. When he meets Tris, first jumper, Tris, careful Tris, and you look good Tris. So the kind of the key points in their relationship where he starts to notice her a little bit more than just a big mouth who doesn't know how to keep her mouth shut even though she's an abnegation. So basically, it kind of just talks about his perspective and what's going on in his life and how he came to where he was. And what happens is, in the book, Four obviously has a very abusive father, and he thinks his mother died. But later on, he actually does learn that she's alive through one of the factionless guys. Well, sort of. She kind of contacts him and tells him about this really big plot that's going on between Erudite and, Dauntless. So, but first, what happens is his choosing day is coming up, and his father knew that Tobias was divergent, so he coached him through what he needed to do to get abnegation in the tests, right? So what happens is, on choosing day, so it's first the initiate, what happens is on choosing day, Tobias realized he had this sudden urge to defy his father. So he took out this waterfall looking statue that his mother gave him for no particular reason. It has no function other than to look pretty on his desk. He took it out and he left it there. And on choosing day, he acted completely normal, so his father would none be the wiser that he was about to transfer. So what happens is, on choosing day, he goes up and cuts the knife, once his name is called, and he chooses Dauntless, because he thought, what would piss off his father more, and what would allow him freedom and strength, because he's always felt weak and in a corner all the time, always bullied, always picked on by his father, always abused. He wanted to feel strong, and he wanted to be strong, and Dauntless class are the warriors, and that's the warring faction. So, those are the warriors, so he obviously picks Dauntless. And the look on his father's face, it was shock and anger and disappointment and just utter, he was frozen like a lamb. And Tobias salivated over that. He was like, you know what? I did it. I put that look on your face. I did that. I did it, and I'm free. So he's finally free, and then the initiate. He realizes that Dauntless are crazy, just like Tris did in Divergent when she chooses Dauntless. What happens is they, of course, have to jump on the train. Tori sticks up for Tobias against her brother Amar, because Amar is just like, it gets harder from here, and they all jump off the train, and Tobias survives. And then, of course, they go and jump down into the chasm. Tobias is the last jumper, and Amar is just, okay, your turn, or do you want to be factionless? And Tobias takes the leap, and that's one of his very first fears is heights. So that's how he forms that fear, with the whole train jumping thing, and then the jumping off the fucking building. And then after that, there's obviously Eric, who's from Erudite, just like, he's kind of just like Tris's nemesis, Peter, who's from Candor. Anyway, so Eric says, I know your name, you said to Eaton something. And then Tobias realizes that Eric has some kind of hold over him, and he's like, oh god, what's going to happen if he figures out who I am? So what happens is in the initiate, they go through initiation, and Tobias is struggling a little bit, but then he starts hitting the gym more, getting more pumped up on iron and strength, and then eventually when he has to face Eric in battle, in actual combat, he beats Eric bloody. Eric like broke his nose and his teeth, it broke one of his teeth out. It was crazy, and that's when Tobias was raised in the ranks really high. Even with the Dauntlessborn, they were very, very impressed with him. And this was back before they had the whole kicking out thing if you didn't make it up the list. That was Eric's idea, by the way, in the book. So what happens is Tobias, once he kicks Eric's butt, is brought to Max's office. Max, the leader of Dauntless, and he sees Janine there, and he's wondering what the hell an erudite is doing there. And she's talking about leadership, and Tobias realizes in the Traitor that he's up for Dauntless leadership, which is a big deal. He could have been a Dauntless leader, just like they mentioned in Divergent, but he passed it over for Eric, to Eric, because he knew that what Max wanted was not a leader, was not somebody who had ideas. He wanted a pawn to use to make if Max made a mistake, Eric would take the blame. So it was kind of just like, patsy, if you will. And Janine wanted Eric to be in Dauntless leadership, so she had the pulse on what was going on in Dauntless, because this was right before this is just in the beginning stages of their attack against Abnegation and the Divergents. So, Tobias is sniffing a rat. So he starts looking at Max through the computer lab. He says, I want to be an initiation instructor, and in between then, I noticed I have a really good fondness for computers. Because back when he was in Abnegation, erudite woman taught him all about computers and how to take them apart and put them back together and codes and all that HTTPL stuff. So Max puts him in the computer lab, and he's a Dauntless instructor, when he's not in the computer labs. So what happens after that is pretty much he is training one of his initiation classes. And during training, he meets up with his mother for the first time. He doesn't ever want to see her again after they meet up, because he thought it was his father, mocking him. But then it turns out it was his mother, who he thought was dead the entire time. And then when he sees her, he's like, why are you still alive? How are you still alive? And then she says that, she had to get away from his father, and she thought he would treat him well. And then he said, no, he beat me and he tortured me, and I was pretty much abused all my life, and you were never there. So that was an ugly situation. And what happens is they never speak again till Tobias realizes more about the plan that Max and Janine are concocting, because with all these weapons being brought in, and they're very heavy now on teaching them combat, the new initiation class of Dauntless. So Tobias looks up Max's computer. He goes into Max's office one night in the Traitor, and he finds out all the files that they're planning an attack on Abnegation. And he goes against his better judgment, because Triss actually said that this would never happen in Abnegation when Edward was stabbed in the eye with a knife by Peter. She knew, and everybody else knew that Peter did it. It's just, it was in the dark, and there's no concrete evidence. And that's when Tobias realized that, even though his father's bad, and not all Abnegations are good, because what happens is they all lied about his mother to him when he was a child. There are some good ones, like Triss in Abnegation and her family. So out of respect for that, he went to tell his father about the attack, and his father didn't believe him. So what happens is Tobias goes back and realizes, I just betrayed my faction for that. I just risked being factionless for that, really. Although it does stand up to his father, which is pretty cool. After that, basically the scenes that are included is Tobias seeing Triss so frail and tiny. He says, oh god, she's not going to make it through. And then when she loses her first fight, in his opinion, how she's just not going to make it through, he needs to help her, just like he helped his friend Christine. When she was a Dauntless-born initiate, she almost lost against this other girl who was a transfer, like him. And what happens is pretty much Triss makes it through. She back in the lunchroom when she's making fun of him, kind of. He says, "Careful, Triss." And also when she talks about how Dauntless leadership is corrupt, and he's saying, "Careful, Triss, not to say that stuff around there." And then after that, he's keeps thinking about how much he yearns for her. So he's talking about his passions towards her in the book as well. And then what happens is, after that, the last scene we get to see is where he compliments Triss, and he's kind of drunk with his friends, the Dauntless Borns that are his friends. He's kind of getting drunk with them, and he goes up to Triss, and you know, she's wearing makeup for the first time, a little bit of eyeliner, a little bit of pink lipstick, her hair's down, and he looks at her, he's like, you look good, Triss, and her tattoo is exposed, she's kind of wearing a tight shirt, and he's just like, you look good, and he's flirting with her, and he's trying to touch her, and she's just kind of laughing at him, and he feels really embarrassed, he's acting really stupid because of the alcohol, and then he talks about how he kisses Triss and how that feels. And I just realizes that it's beyond looks for him with her. It's a more complicated romance, and you know, it's just the start of their relationship before the end hits him in the last book, which is Allegiant. So you get to learn a lot more about 4, and you know, it stings a little bit less. It's still, the pain is still there that Triss is not alive, you know, figuratively speaking, because she died in Allegiant. Although, you know, you learn a little bit more about her boyfriend and realize he's not a total loss. You know, he's okay. It stings less, and it's actually a very good story. A couple of chapters got me all teary-eyed about his father and stuff. I'm like, oh, that poor guy just needs a hug, you know. And, you know, when he found out his mother was alive, I'm like, oh, that's gotta hurt even more. So, yeah, it's not altogether a terrible book. It's alright. You know? I would read it. I would pick it up. I'd buy it, you know? I got this at Kohl's, so guys, just read it. It's really good, honestly. You learn more about him. And there's even the Ferris wheel scene in it, what he thinks about her and her weirdness of heights, and he's like, you're not even human, and he's just looking at her, and it's everything Tobias, really. It's really good. I like it. So that's all I have to say on the current book that I'm reading, that I just finished reading. So thank you guys for tuning in and listening to my book talks and subscribing. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. So, mwah! Bye guys.